What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Ministry Show. I am your host, Nate Clason, here as always. And if you've been here the last couple weeks, you know that we've been doing some different interviews. And so once again today, I have another interview. And today it is with someone that I know probably better than anyone in the world. It is with my brother, Nate Clason. Good morning, Nate. How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Probably not better than your wife, though, right? Don't say that too in front of anyone, you know.
Well, I know you long. I've known you longer.
True, that is true, but not too much.
So that's probably what I'm thinking when I say that.
Yeah.
So, well, Nate, give us all a little bit of background. What's been your church and like youth ministry, student ministry, just experience and story? So, kind of get that conversation out of the way to set a little bit of a baseline as we dive into this social media discussion.
Yeah, so I felt called to ministry at a Mexico missions trip when I was in high school, late high school, and actually kind of fell off my journey a little bit. Kind of started serving, working in like the public work, you know, the secular work environment, and just kind of thought I wasn't called to ministry anymore, and got connected one day at my custodian job at a school with a pastor's wife who was subbing at the school. And I told her, we were talking about music, and she found out that I could play a little bit of guitar, and she asked if I could help with her church worship, and got connected that way. And through that got connected with a leader in that denomination who eventually got me ordained and got me connected with other pastors eventually, where I became a youth pastor, and now I'm serving in a little bit of a bigger church in the Taylorville area as the associate pastor of student ministry and worship ministry. So it started with worship ministry and kind of evolved into youth, and I never kind of saw that coming, but praise God that he got me to kind of where I felt called to years ago, you know, so that's cool.
Yeah, so the gateway drug to your youth ministry was worship.
Yeah.
That's where you started.
As you can tell by the man bun, right?
Yeah, or something about that man bun. We won't talk about that. But so you started doing youth ministry. When you jumped into youth ministry, what at that point was your like understanding or your relationship with digital social media and all that type of stuff?
I've always kind of been like, I've always been aware of social media. Never knew how important it was to student ministry. I didn't really, it was actually post-COVID when I really, in the middle of COVID that I started getting involved in student ministry. And I didn't have too many platforms at my first church with social media, mostly through Facebook. That's pretty much it for my first church. And I mostly connected with parents on that platform. And I realized that probably wasn't a strength. So here, though, I would say that I've kind of adopted Instagram, Facebook. I created a TikTok. And Nick, I know you're so passionate about YouTube. Me and Jessica have been talking recently, my wife, about the idea of getting on YouTube here soon, just because I feel like that'd be a bigger overall reach for our students to have us on YouTube. But I'm not super connected. I wasn't super connected initially to social media, I would say that.
So what would you say was like the driving force or the catalyst to like get you connected to some of those things? Like what was your like aha moment, if there was one?
Well, I think seeing you like super passionate about it and watching your podcast, really honestly, like and your different videos and clips on like TikTok and stuff of how important social media is, kind of drives me to make sure I have that. And like really a lot of that is truly from like your passion for it, and seeing other leaders saying, hey, you know, like this is a new era. It's no longer like you're not going to meet in person as naturally and as often as you like, and there's going to be kids that don't make it every week. So it's like it's good for them to have some sort of avenue of seeing some of the stuff that we're talking about, even if it's just like a recap or whatever, just to kind of give them a basis of what we're talking about. So
yeah, no doubt. I would agree, but you know, that feels obvious maybe. So what, like, tell people, all right, so like I think this is helpful because you're a guy who is like what I would deem as like a lot of other youth pastors in America, right? You're just kind of like jumping from like week to week, program to program, like making sure you got a game, making sure you got a message, making sure you got a small group, making sure you got enough leaders, like all the things, all the like whirlwind elements of being just a youth pastor. And then you got someone like me, right, who's telling you like you need to get on social media, you need to
Mhm.
get on social media. Like, speak to somebody who's in the space that you were a year and a half ago. That's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I would love to. There's no way I could ever do it. Like, it's too hard. It's too much. It's too whatever. Fill in whatever blank of why it's not going to be achievable or possible. Like, talk to somebody who's in that sort of space, like you were not too long ago.
Yeah, well, there is a way to connect all your social media platforms so that when you post on one, it posts on all of them. I think that's a big part of it. And honestly, I don't even like for some things, like for my pictures, it goes from Instagram to Facebook. They're connected, but for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, whenever I do a reel or a video, they're not. So I have to go in and do it myself somehow. And I'll have to figure all that stuff out. But that's a part of it is like if you have them connected in some way to the same email and to the same connection, like you can link it so that when you post on one, it goes to all of them. And honestly,
Yeah.
like not everyone sees each platform, and sometimes they do, and that's okay. But I think it's just so important to know that students are on these platforms and they're looking for inspiration, they're looking for hope. And it's our way to kind of minister to people through the social media platforms that God has really entrusted us with as youth pastors, if we're on them, to do the right things on there, and and it's good to have fun things and different activities and different like kind of goofy things for kids to kind of be drawn in
Mm-hmm.
by, but it's also good to have content that could inspire and change lives. And I've seen aspects of both, so it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's like the big picture reason, right? Like, students are on it. We should be on there helping redeem those moments. Like, I like to think about like in the Bible, the Apostle Paul was using like pen and paper and then like mail carriers to like get his message across. Like, today, I would envision that he would be using something like digital, well, pretty
Exactly.
pretty vigorously to get his message across. But like, so that's like the why. That's like the big picture why,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Students are there. It's important. Talk about like what it took, like from just time management. Talk about what it took from like um, platform understanding and not like you. I feel like you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you had to get to know how to use a lot of these tools. So like talk to someone who might be in a space that's like, I don't even know what to do or how to do it or like what's even possible or what even I should do. Like, get real practical.
You know, I think it doesn't take as much time as you think. I mean, yes, creating the video. I mean, I think with like creating a short or like a reel, you never want to make a reel any longer than a minute or so. Like that's so
Mm-hmm.
you really, it doesn't take that long to create that video. If you could do it in one or two takes, like it's not a big deal with that. And then that's a big part of what students look at. They don't watch like long videos. They're not going to watch a 20-minute video, but if you can keep it a minute, that's more
Mm-hmm.
realistic for them to kind of dive into it and interact with it. And I think a lot of it is like interaction. Like if what'd you learn from this video? Make comment in the comments. Tell us who won this in this game. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's as much. It's not as time consuming as you think. I mean,
Mm.
some people are slower than others, and some people are faster than others at getting stuff done. But once you kind of get the bearings and the grip on different like ways of doing things and kind of your groove on things, it becomes pretty natural and second nature and pretty fast to get
Mm-hmm.
stuff done. I do a kind of a good amount of social media stuff with even both worship and youth a little bit, not as
Mm-hmm.
much with worship, but some. And it's like it doesn't take that much time to post stuff. I think yeah, that's a encouraging thing to think about is like it's not going to take you forever to get a couple posts out a day or maybe several a week. I think it's good to have at least one a day or multiple a week so you can kind of keep interacting with your students. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that what kind
Yeah.
of answering your question? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's like, there's think I can't remember exactly. I think I'm trying to look it up right now, but there's a book. The concept is called like 1,000 hours, or maybe it's 100 hours or something like that. But I'll put the link in the show notes if you're interested. I'll figure it out. But the concept is like no one's going to be good at anything until they spend some time on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you feel intimidated by something, like, of course you're going to feel intimidated by something new. It's new. That's what new stuff does. None of us are good at new stuff right away. And so, and I think it's really telling to your point, like you are, you were in that boat and you're like, I don't know. I just to shed a little bit of light, like when I was telling you should dive into some of the stuff, you were like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't really do that type of like, I don't really do TikTok. I don't really do any like videos. And I was just like, hey, just try it. It's not that hard, right?
Yeah.
And so to hear you say now, a year and something later, like it doesn't take as much time as you might think.
Yeah.
That's a good like word on that. And the more time you spend on something, the better you're gonna get with it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had one of our interns yesterday say something about like video editing. She's like, I want to help you edit video. I want to like do more video editing because she also wants to like learn. And I just looked at her. I was like, you just got to do it. Like doing it is the key. Sit down with it, and the more you like sit down with it, spend time on it, the more you can get it done.
I've learned on my phone CapCut, the free version, even like it does wonders for a lot of things. Like there's a pro version that probably costs some, but like even the free version has given me like a lot of help. And there's really not a lot to it. There's a lot of little things you have to kind of figure out what does what, but once you do, it's pretty easy and you can kind of get the gist of it pretty quickly. So
yeah. And it's even fun. Yesterday I had a student, a 6th grader, come in and I taught him how to edit videos for social media, and he edited 2 in a 3-hour period of time. He'd never used Adobe Premiere Pro.
It turned out pretty good, the videos.
And yeah, I'll post a link down below. You can see the student's edit. But
awesome.
I mean, it was crispy. It was a crispy edit. So
cool.
Shout out to him. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit, Nate, and talk about what advantages or what wins you have seen out of social media in your group, right? What has having a camera around, what has doing different like challenges, what has your little like devotional thoughts, like take it any direction you want, but what has having just a presence on social media, what has it done in your mind to your youth group?
I'm gonna say something that may be a little bit off the track of this a little bit, but it's related to this. I think I've noticed a lot more people outside of my ministry are being reached than just my students. There's people that see my videos that are like not from our ministry, that are like inspired and like asking questions and like, where's CSM at and all this stuff. And they may not even be from around the area, but they're like curious and finding things.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get more students now and like seeing my videos and being and following things. And actually we copied off your guys' church one time. You did this thing where you went up to students and go, hey, do you follow Cross Creek, your church? And I go, hey, do you follow CSM on TikTok, or do you follow CSM on Instagram? And they're always scrambling and they show their phone and they either don't or they do, or because of that they start following.
Yeah.
I think it's just so important to be present there, and give them an avenue where they can, if they missed a week, and I don't always do it, but I try to do a recap video from the week before and talk more about different messages. And I think they need that to kind of, if they're not there, like, hey, they can see what's going on. So that's really good. So
yeah. Well, and it's even like, you even said it there, like just by doing like some little like challenge thing, like it created like a fun moment, right?
Yeah.
And then if you do go around and you're kind of like doing man on the street style videos and you're interviewing people and trying to catch them not following you or prove to people that they are following you, like then later they're going to look for that online, right? And then that's going to create an organic moment, an organic shareable moment that they may show their friends, like, hey, check this video out, or something like that, right? Like something that they could even then be proud of, And so I think there's opportunity, not just with people who don't go to your church, but also like with students that are in your youth ministry that can, help them feel some sort of like sense of ownership and some sort of like win in and through your social media, and it's in the it's a really like low hanging fruit there, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of students, specifically students, want to see other students, sorry, on videos and like in things instead of just me, just Jessica,
Mm-hmm.
just the leader.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see students, and when they see students, they're more attentive to watch and kind of participate with it when they're there instead of just adults kind of sharing recaps or whatever that may look like, you know. So I've
Yeah.
learned that kind of the hard way a little bit, you know. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and we're all just trying stuff, right? Like what I did when I moved here to a little, well, I guess just about 2 years ago now. When I moved here, like my strategy that I brought in is not the same strategy that I have today, right? And so, like, as you get going on that, and I think that's a good encouragement too, back to the question a minute ago, like just get started.
yeah.
And then once you get started, you start to like uncover things that you didn't know, right? Like a great example in our context is, we had a resident, Caleb, 2 videos ago. I'll link it right here. But he had this idea about like a thing called the social challenge, and we would do a filming of it every single Wednesday night. And he wanted that to be like a long form version of a YouTube video. And so we did that for a semester, and it was, I mean, that project would eat his lunch because he would do it on a Wednesday night, and then he would work all day on a Thursday on it, and he didn't work on Fridays. So like his whole Thursday was eaten up by getting this social challenge edited, posted, and then like up and live on YouTube. And but we killed the long form version of it because it was like the time factor, like the immediacy of it. But we shifted it to like more short style, more challenge style. And what that's done is that has, like you said, that has put so many more students on our platform. So we've taken the same block of time that we would have taken to shoot one big long video, and we'll just shoot like five shorts, and then we can just bank them. And so we got them. Like I got in my folder right now, I got like 5 or 6 of like a certain style of game, we call them drafts, and then I got 5 or 6 of another certain style of game, we call it 7 questions. And so like I have some pretty like set, like, you know, what I post every day and when I post certain things. But like when I don't have something or when I need something to kind of fill the gaps, like I got those. They're just sitting right there. And so we stumbled into that, right? Like what we started with, the idea of the social challenge, what we started with is not what it is now. And what's cool is like it in the room, like in our programming, like it's still called the same thing. Like from when it started to what it is today, we still call it the social challenge. So students know what it is, and students know there's an opportunity for them to compete and get on camera, and they love that stuff. That's awesome. And it's opt-inable though, and that's the nice part is like we say, hey, during free time, if anyone wants to come do the social challenge, we'll be back here in this room. And so it's not forced. We're not like making anyone who is shy or whatever have to get on it. But then, there's definitely kids who do want to be on it, and they're like banging down the door to get in there.
You have like the same, like smaller group of students that always want to be on videos, or you have a pretty good variety of students that want to be on videos? Because I feel like it's kind of slim for me of kids that actually want to be on video.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, the same kind of group, like the same, like middle school boys. Like the kid who edited is the kid who's always on them too. Like he's a camera. He's very camera hungry, right? And that's okay. Like everyone's gonna go through waves. This kid doesn't. He's a 6th grade, 7th grade boy. Like he's not insecure about anything, right?
That's all.
But like one day he will be. He probably won't be that kid for his entire youth ministry career, right? And so like that's the nice part is you can offer that. And if you got kids, and the other fun thing we've started to do, right, like beyond just being on camera is like helping run the camera. And so like maybe they don't want to be on the camera, but maybe they can like be behind the scenes or edit and those types of things. And that students love getting a chance to do that. And like the older I'm getting, the more I'm trying to figure out like how can I not just do student ministry for students, but how can I let students do student ministry for students? That's good. So, so that's one of the things we're trying to pursue. But Nate, tell me like what in your context has been the most like fun or most effective thing that you've done just with regard to digital? It doesn't have to be social media, like anything. It can be any sort of thing in like the digital space.
Well, I'll be honest, I've really recently kind of started and this, I don't even know if you consider this what you're looking at, but I started a Snapchat group with our
Yeah.
CSM students, and I go, hey, invite. I know it's technically social media. Invite anyone that is not in that I don't have access to into this group chat, and people are just adding people as we go. And as soon as I add someone else, and they have friends that are from CSM, they'll add them, and it's like the group has grown. But the more people that are in there, the more it gets blown up. It's been fun to just kind of see it expand slowly throughout the last couple weeks. That's something that I'm
Yeah.
excited about because it's like it's a different way of connecting. We have group me and we connect through group me mainly, but I think
Yeah.
Snapchat's kind of a funner, like fun way to like send funny pictures and whatever's like even
Yeah.
at Invest Group, like this kid was blowing it up with like filters of people's faces being all distorted and stuff, and just it was
Yeah.
just being goofy. And I don't know if that answered your question the way you wanted me to, but it's just
Yeah, no, it's
you
great.
know,
I mean, it's that's the thing. Like every church is different, right? So like I'm not going into this with any sort of like agenda. I'm just trying to get to know like what real youth pastors and real churches are doing, like to connect with students. And that's a great example because youth ministry 15 years ago, like you don't have that
yeah, yeah,
opportunity.
yeah, yeah.
Whether your church, because like our church doesn't let us use Snapchat,
Oh,
right?
really?
So like whether it's Snapchat or whether it's GroupMe or whether it's a group message or whether it's like an Instagram DM group, like it's the concept is the group message. And
Yeah,
you and I, if we were youth pastors 15 years ago, we don't have that opportunity. Like
yes,
that doesn't exist. And so that's why I say it's so important for youth pastors to just figure something out because look at that opportunity. Like you have a chance to message your students on like a Tuesday morning.
yeah,
Like otherwise you would have had to
yeah,
wait for them to
yeah,
come to you to be a captive audience.
yeah,
But now we have the ability to like and there's checks and balances within that and there's times where that can get abused, but like at the end of the day, like the opportunity that we have is
yeah.
fantastic. So it's important, I think, to lean into that.
We should ask our dad how he did that when he was a youth pastor, just to see from
15
him.
years ago.
But because he was doing it when it was like not many, there wasn't cell phones, so how do you do
Yeah,
that?
well, you just didn't do a group chat.
Yeah,
It was all about the in person,
it was, yeah.
and that's the struggle, right? Like the struggle now is like sometimes when you introduce an idea of digital, there may be an older generation or demographic that remembers it done a different way, and no shade on that or them, but the fact is like we just live in a different day, and so and whatever they however they were doing things before, like teenagers have zero concept of that
Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah, for
They
sure.
are digital natives and digital dependents. And so to not have something, right? And that's the thing, like when I hear arguments from youth pastors who say, well, I don't use social. Like, well, do you have a group chat? Well, yeah, we have a group chat. Like, well, you're doing something. Like, you're not doing nothing. And so that's the thing. I love that. The sky is like legitimately the limit, right? Wherever your creativity will lead you in today's day and age, like you can do anything, right? And it can be as robust of a strategy as you want, or it can be as like pared down and just focused on your kids, and both are great, I think.
Yeah.
So last thing, Nate, how do you know something's working? Like when you post something or whatever, like how do you know like that was good, that was a win? Like what are some of the things that you look for, whether it be like metrics, like numbers type things, or even just like the word on the street or the scuttlebutt that you might hear like in the hallways of church?
Um, I think I see people share things, and even if it's not a lot of shares, like there's like adults that aren't in our ministry that kind of see this stuff and they'll share it, or multiple students like it. We have a good amount of likes, we have a good amount of views. If there's a
Yeah.
good amount of views, it means it's kind of catching on. Honestly, I do a lot more reels, even for like pictures. I'll do picture reels, and
Yeah.
they're ones that kind of just to kind of show like what we've done in a night of CSM. I like to do like recap videos of like what we did that last night at CSM or today or whatever. Just kind of
Yeah.
show people kind of quickly in pictures of what we've been up to. And I think our adults, like parents and adults in the church, want to see what's going on with the students. And when the adults are encouraged and feel uplifted by students inspiring others to come and leading their friends to Christ and getting on stage on Sunday morning and leading worship, and when
Yeah.
they get on stage on Sunday morning and share the announcements in front of the whole church. That's just, I think they're inspired by that, and all that. I capture that stuff, and then they go on and share it with their friends. Hey, this is something that happened at our church. Our students are doing things. So it's all related to social media because you captured the images, and then you share it on like your platforms to kind of show the world and people that God's up to something at Calvary Student Ministries. And just yeah, that's mainly it, I think, is just seeing people inspired by what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. If you didn't have some sort of creative outlet to share stuff like that, like how would people know? Because if they're
They
not
would have no
in the
idea.
room,
Yeah.
if they're not in the room, they don't know. So
Exactly.
there's another. You just stepped in another benefit, right? Like
Yeah.
they're people, adults, parents, pastors, elders who are not coming to youth group on Wednesday nights or Sunday nights, especially not frequently. Like you can help them. That's a win for you, maybe as a youth pastor too. Like just putting some of that stuff out there. So, like Nate said, it's not as hard as you think it might be.
Yeah.
So, last word, last final like bit of encouragement. What would you say someone who is on the fence, who's maybe like you a year and a half ago is like, I'm not sure about all this stuff. Like, what's one thing that you would say like, hey, do this, right? Just do this one thing this week.
Dude, that's a tough question. I would say like kind of like what you said, give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, you're not gonna get, and don't be discouraged if you don't get 100 followers in the first, you know, couple days or weeks or months. Even like it takes some time sometimes, and sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
a slowly growing thing. But I say give it a shot and just try it out for a little bit. And like I said, please do not be afraid of the time like engagement with it. It's not as bad as you think. And honestly,
Mm.
like I feel like youth pastors are really called to this generation of reaching people through social media. That's just where we're at in society, where we need to be on social media in some way. And I don't even think that Facebook's really that platform for students. It's more for adults Facebook's more of an adult thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
just find that avenue that you can get started with and connect them together, link your platforms together so it's easier for you to post multiple things. You got this. The church needs you.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Well, hey, thanks for being on this morning. Thanks for getting up early.
Yeah, man.
And and yeah, we'll talk next
Love you,
time,
brother.
everyone.
Hey, we'll
And
stay in touch.
you too. Hey, stay hybrid.